Hi everyone, Donna McElvaney here, and as promised in my last video, my first video of all of those great yarns that I have accumulated, we're going to be pulling Ocean today. So this was made possible by a viewer who actually requested that I do Ocean and sent me the money to actually purchase it and to also purchase some other yarns as well. So thank you so much to that viewer. You guys are awesome. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to start pulling right away. This is the way that I start. I come up under here, twist it around like a helicopter, and make my slip knot. That's how I make my slip knot. All right, so we're going to get started here. I've never done this one before, so I've just pulled it out and just going to start chaining and see if hopefully the repeat is going to be a simple one and not something like Shaded Dusk where you think that you found the repeat but you actually haven't. All right, so we're just going right along here, and I'm speeding through chaining so that I can get to the actual pulling part. All right, so here is this color, but I want to make sure that this is the repeat. So it's this color, and then it goes to this color here, and then the darker, the purple, and then the darker purple, and then once again with that beautiful blue color there. Sorry, I got some shadows going on here. All right, because I have an extra light on me today. All right, so it appears that this is the repeat here. 1, 2, 3, 4 colors in the repeat. Not sure what we're going to name these yet. Dark purple, purple, blue, and this aqua green. I'll just call it green to make it short. All right, 1, 2. I'm going to go third from the hook on this. You can also go fourth from the hook. To do the moss stitch, they do say that you go fourth one from the hook. I go third because it just seems to be shorter. You know what? I didn't check what hook it recommends. Okay, and it does recommend an I hook, a 5.5 millimeter. That's always been my go-to hook with the Red Heart Super Savers because that seems to be the one that they recommend on their pulling yarns. So that's the one I automatically grab because I'm so used to doing that. All right, so we're just going to continue on here. All right, and with planned pulling, if you have not watched videos before, we do the moss stitch, single crochet, chain 1. And what you also want to make sure is that we call these legs, that you don't have any muddy legs, that all your stitches, your single crochets, are nice and clear and solid. They are solid colors. All right, so those are your legs. All right, one, I skip one, we're going to do a single crochet. Oh, I forgot to ask that contributor how many sequences she wanted me to do with this. Currently, I just did 1 sequence. So if you'd like me to do it in more sequences, just shoot me a line, comment below, and I will do another video that has more sequences in it if you'd like. Because I just did 1 here on the chain, and I don't think I can get 2 sequences on a 1 sequence chain. I think I can get 3 sequences on a 2 sequence chain. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one's half blue and half purple. So I'm going to loosen these up to make that one a solid purple. Make sure that that one came out good. Yeah, There's a little bit of blue right there, but it's mostly purple. It's kind of a transition. So I'm going to call that purple. All right, move that out of my way. I have extra shadows, I'm sorry. I should probably turn off that extra light. I was set up earlier with a big light because I just got finished doing the upcoming yarns video, and then I just went straight into doing this video. 1, 2, 3. How many purples are we gonna get? 4, but it's going into the dark purple here, so I think I'm going to loosen these up. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and take that back and loosen these up more too. All right, so looks like I'm going to be getting 4 out of each color. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, I believe I can get 3 sequences on a 2-sequence chain. And I know I can get 5 sequences on a 4-sequence chain. And then the higher up you go, like say I did 5 sequences, I could probably get 5-sequence chain. I could probably get 7 sequences on a 5-sequence chain because your chain gets longer and longer, and your moss stitch takes up more yarn to do, the more sequences you do it. So the higher you go on your chain, the more sequences you're going to get. It's kind of like an exponential type of thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we are into the dark purple, or is this? This is more of a dark blue than purple. These are very pretty colors. All right, so I'm definitely only going to get 1 sequence on a 1-sequence chain. So if you'd like me to do 2 sequences, I will most definitely do 2 or 3, however many you would like, to the contributor of this one. All right, so this is the sequence. All right, so this is one sequence here. All right, so it's green, blue, purple, dark blue. All right, so we need to offset by 1. So we have to offset 1 stitch. So as I chain up here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. I may only make this one do 3. I chained up 2 to turn. 1, 2, 3, and that worked. So I can keep this one as 3 throughout the whole project, or every time I turn on the long tail side, every one on this side would be short 1 stitch. One of your stitches would be 8 up in the turning side. We've got chickens outside being loud. Sometimes they do that when they're alerting to eagles and such. We live in an area with a lot of bald eagles, and it's wonderful. It's magnificent to see them perched up in the trees and flying overhead. Not so great whenever you have a backyard full of chickens, because they will eat chickens. All right, so we want to keep our number sequence the same. All right, so I should have 4, but I have 1 that's 8 up in the chain here. Also to offset by 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And I need to make it 4. It has to be 4. Sorry, I'm just crocheting along and not really talking about the how-tos of pulling, making sure that you have the exact number of stitches, making sure that your legs aren't muddy. And so far I've done pretty good with the not muddy legs. Your second row is the exact same as your first row. So I need to have 4 of these dark blues. 2, 3, and 4. I gotta tighten those up because that's gonna be muddy. Another thing too, if you want to make it nice and crisp, a crisp design, is the stitch that's on top of your color. You want the stitches on the color that's on your hook. You want that to be matching what your stitch is going to be. Sometimes it doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes that is difficult to do, especially if you're having to do a lot of manipulating in that certain color section. So see, I've got the green on my hook going into this stitch, because I could have had the dark blue still on my hook going into this stitch. That is just something extra to make it nice and crisp. I flip it over to make sure that I'm not splitting that stitch, I'm not splitting that V. Alright, so this is perfect. So I'm ending this row with the 1 green one. That means I'm going to have 3 green ones land on the top. 1, 2, 3. Alright, the way that the way that I did that, the way that I wound up offsetting my stitches is making it pull in this direction. Had I done it differently, it would be pulling in this direction. So whenever I turned that one on that first row, whenever I did that turn, it made it pull going this direction. Alright, so that was 3 stitches there. So we can see that we are up and over by 1. So typically it would be up and over by 1, but we are up and over this way. Alright, so continuing on here with 4 blue ones and loud chickens. Alright, so my next color is purple, and I want to make sure that I'm coming to purple. So the purple stitch would be on top of this last blue one, and the next one is purple, so that is perfect, because you want it to be offset by 1. Loud chickens. We've had a lot of rain this week. So here I'm going into the dark blue. So I look and make sure I've got purple here, and then the dark blue one is next, so that is where it needs to be. Alright, also to the contributor, if you would like for me to redo this and make it pull in the other direction, then just message me, comment. I will do that as well. I will do it in more sequences if you like. I will do it pulling the other direction. So see here, remember on this row here, I ended with the 1 green stitch and I turned and I did 3. So here's going to be the same way. I'm ending with the 1 green stitch. But on this side, I'm also using, I have to do fewer stitches over here because this is where we are offset. So I haven't had to do a modified puff on this corner to eat up some of the stitches because I've just chained 2 and that has been sufficient in eating up that yarn. And I say that and then it's not. So on this side, another thing too, I could keep this one as 3 stitches all the way throughout the whole thing. and that would offset it completely. And even doing like just the 3 stitches in it, I would still have to possibly do, you know, some fancy stitch work here to eat up some of the yarn. So here's an example where the green is actually on top of that blue stitch, but I've had to redo this several times now to try and get it that way. I could go ahead and do a modified puff over here to eat up some more of that yarn. All right, so we're going to keep going here. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So I begin with purple, and this is my last blue one here. Purple is next, so that is correct. See how I've got blue, blue, and this blue is right here and here, the greens. These are such pretty colors. 1, 2, 3. Whenever I had originally looked at Ocean, I thought it was going to be a complicated one because some of the colors are very similar in shade. So I wasn't sure if it was going to be a short repeating pattern. All right, so this dark blue and my dark blue is here. So it's going to land right here, which is perfect. I personally like pulling in the other direction. You can see it easier because like as you're coming to it, the bottom one, the color would change before getting to it. Here, your color on your hook changes before you get to it. So see, here's another one where the blue, the transition is on top of that green. So if I want to change that, just to make it more of a crisp design, I'm going to loosen these up a little bit to eat up some of that color. All right, so here it's transitioning more into that green. It's not as clear and clean and crisp because it's kind of a transition color between this dark blue going into that green. I could go back and eat up some more of that if I wanted to clear it up even more. All right, so I had 1, 2, 3, 4, and now going into the light blue. I see the light blue is here, so that puts my light blue stitch right here. You see the greens, how they're going? They're going beautifully. So like I said, if you want it to shift the other direction, then you would change where you do your transition stitch, the one that makes your offsetting stitch, the one that will offset it to make the argyle pattern. So here we are going into the blue, and here's the blue here, purple, 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 and blue, 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 blue. This is a very, very pretty color. Very good choice. So I'm going to keep going here. All right, so this is my long tail side. This is where I have the offsetting green stitches going. So I only need 1 stitch to land over here, but I have this extra. I'm going to loosen these up. I'm trying to not do a modified puff just yet. I'm trying to keep it to where this yarn is pretty easy to work with. It's I don't have to go real super loose on it, and I'm also trying to keep my edges the same because people don't like the wonky side. Sometimes the long tail side can get kind of wonky whenever you are trying to do the argyle pattern and you've offset your stitch in this corner. So this is one way to do it. Nonetheless, whenever you're pulling, there are times where you're going to have to do a modified puff stitch to eat up some of that extra yarn. You're going to have to loosen it up like that. That's a little bit more loosely done to get that offsetting stitch, to either lessen your stitches by one stitch, increasing by one stitch. On that other side, had I, on that first row here, instead of shortening it one stitch here, had I increased it here, that would also have transitioned the making the argyle pattern possible. Sorry if my words are all jumbled up today. 1, 2, 3, 4. So green, green, and green. And you want to make sure that your blues and everything else are still lining up correctly. So like if you're trying to, if your yarn is not cooperating, most red hearts cooperate. I've got like antique. Antique was really super fiddly for me. Sometimes wildflower could be that way too. Sometimes in the middle of your project, you would have to put like, you would have to make them super, super tight to get your stitch count correct, or really loose, or a modified puff. And a lot of times you don't like a modified puff in the middle of your work, but you have to make it work some way, somehow. And really, whenever you look at the whole project, whenever it's completed, you really don't see that because your eye is drawn to the pattern itself. I'm probably repeating a whole lot of stuff that I've said in my other videos also, but I know a lot of people don't watch all the videos. They just watch the color that they're looking for. So I try to teach in each one in case it's a new person to pulling. They don't have the technique down quite right, and they're still trying to get it to click for them. And hopefully these videos are helping. All right, and see, and this, yes, we are pulling in this direction. Other videos we pull in this direction. I feel this direction is easier to pull in, but whenever I did this one, I inadvertently pulled it this way. All right, and I've got 4 of each color going, so I'm wanting to keep my color count. Some people complain they don't want to be a counter, and you don't have to be a counter. You just have to make sure that your colors are lining up correctly. So if you don't want to count, that's great. You do have to count your first 2 rows because you have to make sure that those are exactly correct, because by the time you begin your 3rd row, that is where you will see your argyle pattern is in your 3rd row. If it's not going right, then you've done something wrong. If by your 3rd row it's not offset by 1, as you can see, it was quite quickly 1, 2, so it was this 3rd row right here that we did, and we were offsetting it by 1 right here. If you are not offset by 1 right here, then you've done messed up. So you have to take that out and restart it. So you don't have to count except for those first 2 rows. You just look for your color transition. You look to the correlating rows and make sure that that is where it's supposed to be. For beginners, if you are learning how to pull, then please count your stitches. That's the best thing to do. It's the easiest way to learn. So I totally recommend counting whenever you're just learning it. So on this side, I have 1, 2, 3 of these greens. Chain up 2 and begin with blue. So instead of 4 over there, I only have 3 going because the 4th stitch is either ate up in the chain, it's loosened up. I'm going to loosen these up a little bit more because I only need to get 3 of these greens. And as long as the side is not coming out wonky, which it seems to be doing okay, then I think I'm going to continue doing the offsetting on this turn. The long tail side is where I do the offsetting at. The other way to offset is by keeping the 3 number count of the greens all the way through your project as it goes all the way throughout it, because here we're right here, and now we are turning, so it's going to be turning, it's coming back this way, and as we go we could keep it as 3 stitches all the way throughout the entire project, or we can make it to where this side, the long tail side, that every time you come to this corner that you're going to eat up a stitch in that turn. And that is generally the easiest for beginners. That's what made it click for me, was offsetting it on the long tail side. So some of the stitches are more loose over here. They're still lining up fairly decently. So it will start to get wider because you have to loosen those up. You can do modified puff stitches over there, but that also makes it more thick. It makes it thicker on that side. I'm sitting here. I know I got quiet. I'm just thinking in my head if I want to do the 3 stitches throughout the project so that I can show you that making all your legs land on this side instead of doing it on that side. So those are a couple different ways of pulling. Either keeping those greens as 3 or keeping that side as eating up a leg in your turn. So I'm just crocheting along, making sure that all my colors are going where they're supposed to go. So the purples are all here, the purples are merging. So I've got this line of purples that are here, and I also have this line of purples that are going this way. So look to the outer edges and make sure that those are lining up correctly whenever they begin to merge like this. So you got your blues here. Those are all nice and correct. So you know that the blob in the middle is lining up correct whenever your outer edges are lining up correct as well. Green going into the green. So this is the long tail side. One, two. If I keep the 3 green, then I would need to start this one right here with the blue, which is all the way over here. All right, so keeping the green as 3. Let's work on that. 1, 2. I don't think I can loosen the green up enough. I I still have some extra here. So I am going to do a modified puff stitch right here in the middle. So I'm not doing it on the edge, I'm doing it here. So modified puff. All right, so I go in like I'm doing a single crochet, yarn over, go back in it again, pull it up. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 loops on my hook, and pull through all those 4 hooks and chain 1. So that's what I call a modified puff. All right, so now I'm to the blue. I will get, this is the long tail side. Since I kept those greens as 3, I need to get all 4 of my blues. So it's 1, chain 2. Make sure that you don't loop over, split any of that modified puff. 2, 3, and 4. All right. So whenever you're looking at the project and you see it though, the modified puffs really don't stick out too much. Sometimes you are going to have to do that, or some other way of eating up some yarn. Some people don't like to do the modified puffs all the time on this side, and they want to offset it by just doing one group of colors. That is, these over here are 4, but these greens are 3. I don't have it marked. On some of my other videos, I mark it with a different color yarn so that it sticks out, so that whenever I approach it, I know that that's the one where I have to loosen up my stitches because it's 1 stitch less. So I'm not marking that one. This is just one sequence. I believe I'll be able to keep it straight. So here, just like I did on this other side, I did 1 blue here. Sorry, I did 1 blue here, and then 1, 2, 3 more on top to get all 4 of my blues. So same thing right here. I'm going to do 1 blue here, chain 2, turn, and do 3 more blues on top. Cat. He's jumping up on my lamp table. He likes to get into everything. Okay, so there we are, up 1 and over 1 with the blues. And now the purples. We have 4 purples. And now for the dark blues. As we can see, we are still lining up very nicely. You can see this very good here. Just 1 second. Okay. Okay, so what I just did here is, this is where I have the 3 greens, but I made 4 greens. And then I would end this side. If I do the blue stitch right here, then I'm going to start stacking. Sorry, no, I was just very distracted there. All right, so because that modified puff there, let me know that, hey, I've got to loosen these up. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go ahead and modify puff this one here so that it's 3 stitches. and then the blue. My daughter is at school and her phone is beside me. And her friends, public school kids are already on spring break. But my daughter's not, and her friend keeps calling and messaging. It's like, stop. She's at school. All right, so see, our purples are here. Little kids can be very persistent. No, cat. All right, so I've got the 4 purple. Oh, chunk. 4 dark blue. And then this side here is where I will have the 4 green. That is going to be so pretty. Oh, cat. Nope, nope, nope. Get off there. My video is uploading and my cat stepped on it. So it totally messed up. It paused the upload. So I had to fix that, sorry. Alright, so this is the 4 green side. And now we've got the 2 blues, just like I did on the other side. The other side I had the 2 blue stitches. So here I will have the 2 blue stitches. One, two, turn. I did one video on my daughter's phone, the video of upcoming yarns. In fact, it is uploading right now as I am crocheting this one. Those are such pretty colors. Great choice. Very beautiful, very beautiful. All right, I'm going to do this last row and then I'm going to finish up on it so you get the gist of it. Keeping my color segments lining up, 4, 4, 4, and 4. That one, I still have a lot of blue on the top going into that next one. Dark blue, so I'm going to loosen that up. All right. I'm afraid I didn't do this video very well. It's been a while since I've done a video. I did my last video I did in Texas. And it came out really good because I was like totally focused on it. This one, I apologize. I've been distracted by several things. The chickens, the cat, the kid calling my daughter's phone. All right, so this is the 3 side. This is the 3 green. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this and loosen it up. And then pretty sure I'm still going to have to do a modified to eat up some of that yarn. 2, pull it up, yarn over, go through again, pull it up, 4 loops on the hook, chain 1, and blue. So then we're going to do 3 blues on this side. 1, 2, 3. I'm pulling these a little bit tighter also because I have to chain 2 and still get 1 more stitch out of it because we are offsetting with the 3 instead of making the offset go here on the long tail side. So yeah, I know earlier in the video I said that I was just going to keep the offsetting on the long tail side, but I decided against that as I was going along. As you can see, it's a little bit, what's the word? I don't want to say wonky, it's just a little bit wider here because I did have to do the 3 stitches. So in doing those 3 stitches, it made it wider. And every time that you come, this here eventually will make its way back over to this side as well. And you'll have it then on that side where the stitches are going to be a little bit wider. But as you can see, it's a little bit wider there. All right, if I line that up directly with that, it's wider here because of doing it that way there. Whenever this side gets all the way over to this side, it's going to do it again on this edging here, making it wider. So that, in essence, in effect, it should wind up making it come out even at the end whenever you're done with your work. And if you want to put a modified puff in it over here so that it doesn't do that, then that's fine too. Or a modified puff somewhere in here and not the edging, you can do that as well. So those are some options of keeping your edges from going wonky, from going wider, and from disrupting that if that's what you would like to do. All right, so that is Ocean. And nice, crisp, clean legs. They look nice and crisp. I don't see any muddy legs. Here are the modified puffs. Oh, come on, color, don't do that. So here are the modified puff stitches. All right, trying to get the color to come back in correctly. I don't like it when my white balance does that. And very, very pretty colorway. Okay, so that is Ocean. And there's a whole other list of yarns that I will be doing videos on. So if there's something in particular you'd like to see first, please comment below. I've got, if you've seen my other video, you would see that I have several coming up. Lots and lots and lots of them sitting over here right beside me. All right, guys, so happy pulling, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and God bless each and every one of you. And remember, don't take a fluoroquinolone. Cipralevaquin, Avalox, ciprofloxacin, levofloxacin, moxifloxacin. There are several more of those antibiotics that are in the fluoroquinolone category, class of antibiotics. And they have disabled me. It's been a year now, and both of my Achilles tendons are pretty jacked up, just saying. So you can go to some of these websites for more information on it. And it's not rare. Doctors say that it's rare, but it really isn't as rare as they are told and that they tell their patients. It can happen to you. It happened to me. And so that's my public service announcement for today, and I always like to throw that out there. And guys, happy pulling, and I've already said that. So thanks a lot for subscribing, and we will see you next time.